So good morning and welcome back to the Dogs and Deadlifts podcast. This morning, all the way from, I was going to say sunny Canberra, we have Dallas Burkevics. Good morning.
Morning. It actually is a sunny day here today too. 20 degrees and beautiful.
Holy shit.
I know. Tell me about it. With t-shirt and shorts weather for us.
That's amazing because I'm up. Actually, it has been freezing up here in Toowoomba the last couple of days. I actually went camping. We took the dogs for some runs in the state forest last weekend, and I'm camping in my little tent in thermals. Got my full winter sleeping bag out. Look, it was probably only I think it got down to like 7, maybe 8 degrees, but I was freezing out there. Yeah.
No, that's a beautiful day here now.
That's right.
Anything above 5 degrees now is a nice day.
I know, right? I'm still acclimatizing, so it's taking a little bit of time.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah, I know. I'll be struggling when I come down to Canberra for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get covered up.
Definitely. Let's jump straight into it, if that's okay. For our listeners out there, can you give us a little bit about, I suppose, yourself, what you do? We'll talk about your dogs and the GRC Club over the next little while. But initially, let's just jump in and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with dogs?
Yeah. So I didn't have the usual upbringing that most dog people have, where they've loved dogs from forever. Like I was brought up in a cat family. So it wasn't until I moved out and bought my own house when I was about 21 that I finally got to go and get myself a dog.
Yeah.
So I got myself a German Shepherd, and that was wonderful. Like my first couple of dogs were all rescue dogs. So I had a German Shepherd and 2 Rottweilers. And back then, I really didn't know, much about dogs at all. Like when I think back now, I'm like, oh my God, the things that I used to do and what I didn't do, more importantly. Then the next dog after that, it's Dusty, my Labrador, who I still have at the moment. I adopted him through a rescue group. And, they kind of asked me, could I help out with some raffles and stuff? And next minute, I was very heavily dragged into rescue and did fostering and, was on the committee and did foster care coordinator and all that sort of stuff for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I adopted one of my foster dogs through that. It was a gorgeous Briard cross.
Yeah.
And then as I sort of, the more I did with rescue work, the more I realized this was for me. I really loved working with dogs. One of my dogs actually got attacked by one of my foster dogs, and it kind of was a real eye-opener for me. That was when I was like, oh my God, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it properly. The guilt that I still feel today for, what happened, because it was totally foreseeable now that I know what I'm looking at. So yeah, I went off and did NDTF maybe eight years ago, I think. And that was fantastic, and it's just sort of been onwards and upwards from there. And then about probably 7 years ago, I started transitioning out of the public service and into just started doing casual dog walking with a company down here called Pups for Fun. And now 7 years later, I'm operations manager. We have about 40 something staff and service around 620 dogs a week. So we do the full gamut: daycare, training, grooming, dog walking. So lots of fun. It's the best job, and a coffee van now. So
I did see the coffee. I do love a good coffee. Yeah.
Just when I thought my job could not get better, we added coffee. So
fantastic. I often say, coffee, dogs, and fitness is my jam. And certainly, I'm like, how can I combine those three?
Yes, yeah, we're getting there.
Fantastic. So, I suppose obviously there's 8-10 years obviously worth of history, and I definitely know that when you're looking at the the rescue side of things, how easily you can become emotionally but also physically burnt out as well. It's certainly a tough gig for many people. How did you find that?
Yeah, look, that definitely happened to me. I was doing, and it was of my own accord, but you kind of, you start to feel that the guilt and that sort of thing. And, I was taking in so many dogs, and especially once you become more experienced, and, once you get that behavior background as well, you end up having to take the sort of harder dogs, or dogs that other foster carers haven't been able to cope with. So that was, as much as I absolutely loved it. It taught me more than anything I've learned anywhere else. Every dog threw up a different challenge, whether it be, health wise or behavior wise, or just, how to motivate them. They all gave me different things, and I learned so much from it. But definitely did drag me in. I didn't spend enough time with my own dogs. I don't regret it at all, but I have regrets that, my Cardi, my Rottweiler, who I have now, I feel like I haven't, done the best by her for her younger years. So, I'm trying to make up for that now. But yeah, rescue was amazing. You've just, I suppose, got to keep have people around you that will tell you if you're doing too much and taking on too much, because it can really suck you in, and it's hard to give it up, because you just think about the dogs, and there's always a list waiting to come into your home, and you just think, oh, well, especially for me, being a single person with my own house, it was sort of easier for me than, there's no kids to think of, no husbands or wives that are going to say no. So, it was kind of easier for me to take them in, but that meant that I did, probably take on too much and really, drag myself under a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that us as let's just say dog or pet professionals, doesn't matter whether it's through rescue or operations manager, or from my point of view, running my own doggy daycare, etc. Previously, it can take its toll. So obviously part of the Dogs and Deadlifts program is to help educate about health and fitness and well-being for dogs, but also I've got a strong passion to help those people that are just getting fucking burnt out and just over life, and potentially it ruins potentially it can ruin our outlook on on our dogs and the industry for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the moment, we're in a massive period of growth in the business that I'm in, and it's long hours and that sort of thing, but I love it, and it's good though, because there is a line, and I get the opportunity as well to bring my dog to work, and we have our own access to the park. And just before here, I was we've just built a new dam with big fenced area for dogs, so it brings a lot of opportunities as well. Unfortunately, working with the amazing team that I have, we're all pretty passionate about fulfilling our dogs and making sure that we do get out. Just this morning I came from, all our staff got together and trained our own dogs out at our park. And, so it does keep you, working your own dog as well. As busy as we are, we always make sure that there's time to, keep up our own, and as well looking after ourselves as well. Self-care is a big thing for us as well.
Yeah, and just surrounding yourself with those positive people that are like-minded, can be, certainly, a huge motivator, but also a differentiate between someone that's working from home on their own and has to look at their circle of friends as via Facebook or social media, or even just if they're working from home, podcasts and things like that to try and get them across the line. It's fucking hard, for sure.
Yeah, there's always just that challenge of, you always can never really have enough money in this industry. Maybe there's a few people that are really doing well, but it's, it's always a challenge to keep that line between, making money and being able to, keep a lifestyle that is good for you and good for your dogs as well.
Yeah.
We work hard at that.
Yeah. So, for those that are listening and they don't know what the NDTF program is, a quick overview. National Dog Trainers Federation, Certificate 3 behaviour training and behaviour here in Australia. Focuses quite heavily on education of trainers, coming from a balanced training system. Rather than say obviously the alternative is just a positive only type training. So once you finish that NDTF course, what sort of happened there? Is thirst for knowledge. Obviously jump forward, and we're going to talk about the GRC Club shortly, but a number of seminars, influences along the way.
Yeah. So I was lucky prior to going to NDTF. Our rescue group here in Canberra does a lot of work with trainers from all over Australia, just to try and educate our foster carers. And we had brought up Tamara Mulholland from Underdog Training down in Melbourne. And that was a really good eye opener for me to sort of see what you can do with dogs and that sort of thing, because growing up, it was just like you just walk the dog and that's all there is. And I didn't really know that much about training. And so she sort of, came and did some training with us. And then through doing NDTF, I think the biggest thing for me was the networking. So meeting people like Trish Harris and from Four Paws Canine down in Melbourne as well. And then we managed to bring her up to Canberra a few times. And then just getting into, I think, part of doing courses like that is that networking part and starting to get access to things like seminars. So whereas, I think a lot of people just don't know what's out there. So being able to find out about seminars that were going on, and I went to my first one with Chris from Von Farrell, and I went up to Dural in Sydney, and I didn't know anyone, and I was like slightly terrified. And it was on, there was some bite work, and like I was just like, my God, this is amazing. And so from there, tens of thousands of dollars later in seminars and online education. And, sometimes we were talking yesterday about whether we just paid $350 just to go and catch up with people in Sydney rather than actually learn something. But I think the networking is a massive part of it, and getting together with other trainers and learning from them, and building those great relationships and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about the GRC Club. How did that sort of come about?
Yeah, so we again had been to a seminar, the J Jack and Chad Mackin, and I'd been a big fan of their podcast, Canine Conversations, for a long time. And once we sort of got that exposure to GRC, I really thought this is such a good thing. At the time, like I'd loved bite sports, is something that I'd love to do, but I just at the time was working a lot of shift work jobs and didn't have the commitment or the right dog as well to do that sort of sport. And when GRC, when that first came out, I was like, this is really a sport that more people can do. It's more accessible and all that sort of thing. So down here in Canberra, there's a group of people. So Amy, Elle and Kylie got together and started the club. Amy, I think, was the main driver. She was fantastic. And then, being me, I couldn't help but get involved and kind of insert myself in it. And it's been fantastic. I think actually Amy was saying the other night that the Canberra Club is one of the biggest or the biggest in the world. Wow. We have the most members. So we have, I think, about 23 or 24 members at the moment. And we kind of had to close the books fairly quickly because we're kind of running out of space. We're lucky to have 2 training spaces that we use. But yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, like to see how much improvement the dogs have made and what it's opened them all up to has been really, really good. I've probably been a little bit slack in my training of getting towards the SR. Like I kind of fell in love with the sport, and then through that went off and did the Ashley's canine resistance training program, which both me and my dog Cardi fell in love with. So we kind of have drifted more over into the, the fitness and conditioning side, rather than doing our obedience training, which, hopefully we'll get back to. But, what it's brought for me and the dog, I don't really care. I'm happy with how we're going, and it's made her so much fitter and healthier. She's, about to turn 8 and in the best nick of her life through all this stuff, and being able to bring that to other people as well has been really good.
Yeah, for sure. So so GRC Canberra is the name of the club, yeah? And
yeah.
so you kicked that off, and through, that community you found, obviously I've had Ashley on the podcast here. She is fantastic, does some fantastic work. So then you found, obviously, her program, Canine Resistance Training. Yep.
So I took Cardi through the level 1 and she smashed that. We moved into the level 2 program, but Cardi's got a bit of arthritis. She's had both cruciate ligaments done. So we didn't quite finish that second one, but we just kind of kept going. Like, we knew enough, but through going through that program, to be able to write our own sort of program to keep going with, which was good.
Yeah, awesome. So, I just want to backpedal with Cardi for one moment. So she's 8?
About to turn 8.
Yeah, and I suppose some of the things that you've looked at is that arthritis was popping up, so you had a bit of a change of diet and nutrition as well.
So it probably started a couple of years ago. So some friends of mine that used to work here at Pops of Fun, Courtney and Daniel, developed a business called Chefs and Dogs down here in Canberra. If you're on TikTok, they're like 2 million fans. They're like TikTok famous. So they kind of were the ones that sort of got me more into raw feeding and all that sort of stuff. And I really, saw a massive difference. My other dog, Dusty, he turns 16 next week. And especially for him, he's obviously got arthritis as well. I saw the massive difference that raw feeding made, both behaviorally and, to their skin and coat and just their body composition. And then, combining that with the fitness stuff was just, the icing on the cake. And I started to just see these changes and went, before that, I would have said that she was a fit and healthy dog. Like, she's never been fat or anything like that. And, I never really thought that the kibble that she was on was bad. Until I saw what she was like on raw, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is a whole nother level. Yeah.
And definitely, like we've spoke about it a number of times, and for those people out there, they're probably aware that it all starts with nutrition, and a big part of my foundation program is getting your nutrition on point before you even consider any activity level, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just knowing a bit more about the supplements and, doing like Narelle's seminar. We had her down here in Canberra not long ago, and that was really, really good. And learning more from, Chefs and Dogs and various places, and your podcast. You just learn more about different things you can try, and things that are, going to help with the arthritis and all that sort of stuff. And it's just made, especially with Dusty, with the 16-year-old, he's really kicking along quite well for his age. So I'm just so happy, and I'm just like, God, why didn't I know about this so long ago? Which is why I just, I tell everybody about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, this is my opinion, but I'll ask for your opinion. But I think there's been a big shift in the last, let's just say, 2 years, 2 years, for people to, looking for more education around nutrition, fitness, how to just, have their dog living a healthy, longer life.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was just saying the other day in one of my puppy classes, we talk a little bit about nutrition, and normally I just talk about, buying, as best quality that you can get, and looking for things that are not full of preservatives and colors and all that sort of stuff. And I sort of, read the room to see what people are feeding. And in my puppy class on Thursday, so many of them were already feeding at least partially raw, and it really opened up some great conversation. And I think that's definitely changed a lot. Like, you know, back in the day, I think, you know, you were probably a bit of a weirdo. If the raw feeders were like those special people, whereas now it's, you know, it is becoming a lot more mainstream. And you know, for our clients, like so many of them are on raw.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. Like we're so lucky to have amazing clients in our business here, who really look after the dogs, and you know, so many of them are moving on to raw feeding, and it's just so good to see. And we see, you know, the changes in their behavior in daycare. You know, when with that change of diet, which is just like, sometimes you're like, well, something's changed with your dog, like, and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, nothing really, and we're like, you're feeding the same thing, and sometimes they'll be like, no, we've moved on to this, and you know, the difference is just so much calmer. You know, they're just not as spicy all the time, and yeah.
And then not as many sloppy shits around the place.
Oh God, yes, the old Supercoat poos.
For sure.
Brands, but anyway.
That's all good. You know, that's awesome. And I know that, you know, when you're seeing, say, you know, 600 odd dogs, you know, a week, you know, you can certainly get a gauge of, you know, interest, activity. You know, it's a good pool to judge from, rather than say, you know, let's just say, you know, you might be a dog trainer or a walker and you only have, you know, up to 20 dogs a week, for instance, you know. So, you know, your pool is much bigger, and, you know, for you and your staff to see and changes, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And we try to, you know, we do a lot of staff training for our team, and we look at it, you know, holistically. We don't always look at, you know, train the things that we do here in daycare. So it's not always about, you know, learning marker words and practicing, you know, more, you know, obedience and looking at dog play. You know, we add all that stuff in, but, you know, we look at the dog as a whole picture and go, okay, what else? What other tools can we give our staff that again and give them more knowledge to help both the dogs and the clients? So you know, things like the nutrition. We just did I think 2 weeks ago we did a nutrition seminar with chefs and dogs, and then obviously we had you on maybe a month or two ago to talk about canine fitness, and that was, you know, absolutely fantastic for the team, just to learn more about, you know, what's out there and what we need to do to really look after these dogs. You know, it was so well received by the team to learn more about, you know, about especially things like warming up. You know, like, I'll admit it's an area that I probably hadn't thought enough about, and especially doing things like we have Slapmills here at Pups for Fun as well, and you know, just looking at, okay, how can we best look after these dogs, and what advice can we give the owners? So it was great to have you come and do that for us. And you know, I think it'll, you know, we recorded it and it's on our training page now, so you know, it's great for our team to be able to go back and look at it
For sure.
and learn more.
And look, you know, certainly a pleasure to come down and you know, sorry, not come down. We did it via Zoom. I was like, yeah, we're going to, you know, we did it via Zoom. But, you know, it's great to see, though, you know, a business or an organization, you know, thinking outside the square, as you just mentioned, you know, but also, you know, how many daycares off the top of my head, like I know, but you know, very few are going to have any form of slap mill at their, you know, at their facility, you know, like, I know because I talk to people a lot, right? You know, but you know, you know, on a broader sort of scale, let's just say across Australia or in the US, how many, you know, are utilizing that for either their puppy program or during the day for their, you know, for their highly active dogs? You know, very small percent are doing that, you know. So, you know, to educate staff just on simple things like, you know, as I mentioned, warming up, gait, you know, what gait, what energy system are they using? Are their nails clipped? Before you even jump onto just little things like that, you know, go a long, long way. And I think that your clients are going to appreciate those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like so we use the Slapmills in our puppy classes and in puppy daycare.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to see the difference in the dogs that come through our puppy program. when they go out to our, bigger daycare, they're so much more confident and so resilient and able to cope with things. Like, our daycare is slightly different. And then we go out, big group walks around Canberra. So we'll take anywhere up to sort of 50 dogs out around Parliament House and the War Memorial and practice their skills out in public. And we really notice the dogs that have come through our puppy program and, have been exposed to things that are different and that build their confidence and resilience. We really notice that they cope a lot better when, we're out in public and we're, as you can imagine, walking through Canberra with 50 dogs. We get a lot of people and we're sort of famous for our big lineups and, people stop and, there might be 20 to 30 people watching us. And the dogs just cope so well. And I think it's all part of it. It's all that, that holistic upbringing and looking at every aspect. And so that staff training that we do and having you and various people come and talk to the team is just so important for us.
Can I ask about client perception around, say, let's just say while we're talking about it, what's the client perception, especially in puppy school, about this fucking Slapmill / big fucking treadmill sort of thing?
It's even worse. Like the one that we have in our puppy daycare is like we've got it off Gumtree. It's like if somebody had it for a pig dog. So it looks like a medieval torture device. And sometimes people's faces are like, oh my God. But, you get one puppy on it and everybody's like, holy moly, this is so awesome. And they just love seeing their puppies, gaining confidence every week. So, sometimes we just can't get out of here at night because everyone's got to have a go on the Slapmill. And a few of the clients, actually, we had a little husky puppy who came through puppies and our puppy classes and now goes to our daycare, and he's looking at buying one now. So, it's so good just to be able to open people's minds that then, and we do get comments sometimes on Facebook when you see our, on Instagram, mainly puppies belting along on the Slapmill and people like, oh my God, that's so bad. And, we just try to explain things and say, this is why we do it. And, you can't make a puppy run. Like it's all powered by them. So, if they don't want to do it, we don't force them. But, you see their happy faces and the owners just love it as well. Like it's been really good for us just to have all these various things. Sometimes we do a little bit of CRT as well. And the owners are just so receptive to us, trying all these different things with their dogs and talking to them about it and, sort of explaining, hey, your dog did really well with this and this would be a great outlet for them. And I think it's, I hope it goes more mainstream. I'd love to see, more daycares and more trainers trying out all this different stuff just so that people can see it and go, oh my God, I didn't even know that this was out there.
For sure. And look, that's one of my goals, it's certainly one of my goals to get, more, I suppose, commercial operations involved and, train their staff adequately so they can do it safely. That's obviously top of the list, is that they're doing things safely for the dog, and then therefore can explain, as you mentioned, to the, the owner or the client, hey, this is why we're doing this. Don't stress, because I know that there was a conversation just recently on social media that I seen, obviously versus a Slapmill versus a standard powered treadmill, and I certainly believe there's a place for both, 100%, right? But a lot of people were shying away from the Slapmill because they just didn't quite understand the process behind it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's just people haven't been exposed to it. And, when you hear about, the only way that you'd ever hear about a Slapmill, 5 years ago was when they were being seized through, fighting dogs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Where it's now through like GRC and the work of Jay Jack and people like that, they're coming into people's homes. Like to think, 5 years ago that I would have one sitting in my lounge room, I'd just be like, what on earth? But, we've got 3 here at the business now. We're, looking at buying more, and some of our staff own them, and they're just the best.
Oh, for sure. Look, I had one about 8, 9 years ago. I imported from the Philippines, and look, it was an absolute piece of shit. The evolution of Slapmills has come a long, long way in just, obviously construction, education, the things that you can do with them now. Look, would I spend $10,000 on a slap mill? No way, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's about finding a happy medium about functionality, but also within your budget as well. So and that's what I tell people when they reach out. What do you want it for? And number one, what's your budget? So
Yeah.
certainly when it comes to slap mills, do your research for sure. There's a number of local people here in Australia distributing them. There's ones in the US, so do your research for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I didn't actually think that Cardi would do that well. Like the first couple times we had to go on a slap mill, like she was bloody terrified. And I was like, oh, this is not going to be her thing. But the more access that we had to one made it so much better. And then suddenly she was like, hang on a minute, I can do this. And so I was like, all right, I'll go out on a whim and buy one and hope for the best. And knowing what she's like, I sort of thought, I'm pretty sure that we can make something of this, and if not, somebody will buy it. But yeah, now she absolutely loves it, and it's a real lifesaver for me. Days where I do work the longer shifts and run puppy classes at night, and I can't always, get out to do something, especially Canberra winter. Then I can throw her on the slap mill, and she's not missing out, and it keeps her fit and healthy and happy, and she can go to bed after that.
Oh, for sure. And as you probably know, and if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, I've just recently have a new one from Valward Enterprises, which I really like. Super nice. Has it got all the bells and whistles? No, it hasn't, right? But for me, I don't want the bells and whistles, and it was in my budget, easy to work with, and great customer service. So I'm super stoked with my particular mill. However, like I said, there's plenty out there. Do your research for sure. But I was going to say that it's always the way, right? So my 2 GSPs, I sold my old slap mill before I got these 2 GSPs. So I've had to reintroduce them to the slap mills, and they're a little bit hesitant, of course, first time. And but my little fucking Frenchie just jumps on it and goes, fuck you, this is how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a Frenchie in our daycare, Hank, and oh my God, he belts. He's probably our fastest of all the Slapmill dogs. He's amazing. And he came up with the same thing. He was exposed as a puppy on our mill, and now, oh my God, he's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like Romeo was there strutting his stuff, and the 2 big dogs are just looking up, and he's like, "Yeah, this is how you do it."
Yeah. The one you don't need it for.
I know, right? But he loves it. All my dogs are, they're getting used to it, and I've only had it obviously a few weeks, so still a very, very early days. But certainly, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a lifesaver when you just haven't got that particular time.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. So I just wanted to just briefly talk about, before we sort of wrap things up, your journey with Cardi. Obviously, you started there with, GRC, moved into Ashley's program, and then, we'll talk about me for a moment. I sort of, stumbled. Yeah, my podcast, but I don't like doing too much, about myself on the podcast. So, you sort of stumbled across me, and, we caught up. Can you tell me about, without being too awkward here, tell me about how you stumbled across me. Obviously, you were selected to do an introduction 8-week program with me, which is now completed. Just sort of your journey, I suppose, with me, with Cardi, throughout that short period of time.
Yeah, so we were still doing a little bit of CRT and all that sort of stuff. And, I was pretty happy with where Cardi was at with her fitness, but I'd been listening to your podcasts, which I absolutely love, and you know, watching some stuff, and I saw the thing come up about the canine fitness, and I'd been looking at Erica's program as well, and it's something that I wanted to do, but just not in my budget at this stage, because it's not, you know, it's not a career that I'm going to go into, so it's not going to make me any money. But you know, when I saw that you had that program, I was like, my God, you know, this could be really good. This is what we need. Because sometimes I just don't, like, even though I have, you know, various things, I do the CRT, I've got a Slapmill, all that sort of stuff. How to put it all together was what I really needed, and what I should be doing each day, and you know, what sometimes I go too far, and then her knees hurt and all that sort of stuff. So really understanding a bit better about how to put that together into a program that was going to help her. So yeah, I was lucky enough to be selected, which was really good. And you know, there's so much in there that I learned, and especially stuff like, you know, about the warm-ups and the stretching and all that sort of thing. Like, you know, it was stuff that, yeah, we did, you know, a little bit of warming up, and it was generally just a bit of a walk around the block and that sort of thing before we started. But so, you know, doing all the exercises that you brought out each week, and you know, had ready for us, and videos and all that sort of stuff, it was really good for me, because it just made it super clear. This is what I had to do each day. And even though, like, I changed the program around a bit to suit, you know, my working and hours and stuff, and it was good. The way that you presented it made it easy for me to do that. And one of my other staff, Kyle, he did the program as well. And, you know, we were both sort of like, oh, well, you know, we've got a 13-hour day this day with puppy class and stuff. So, you know, the fact that we were able to change that around was really good. And just learning more about her ability to move and all that sort of stuff was things I hadn't really looked at. You know, there was so much about, you know, building fitness and muscle, but I really didn't look at the intricacies of that, which your program gave me. So, God, it was fantastic. Like, I think I'll probably sign up again, I reckon, just to keep me on track as well. You know, it's a bit like having your own personal trainer, but for your dog. And that, you know, that was really needed for me. Like, Cardi's never been in such good nick in her life. And even though, you know, occasionally I'll slack off and have a week off, it's a lot easier to get back into it, because I know, you know, more things, and I know, I can just go back to Daniel's program and restart that, and, you know, start it again. And I know where to go to and not to go too far and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, just on that, I believe so. You know, most of the you know, the people that I selected for the initial group were trainers, or they had a background in behavior, or you know, a background in particular sports, right? So they were switched on people. It wasn't just Joe Blow off the street that, you know, wants to lose a couple of kilos off their dog, you know. So for me, they were switched on people, in regards to their dogs, but also other people's dogs. And, you know, I think you hit it on the head. Like, you know, we probably know a lot of this stuff, but we haven't put it into a systematic program that we can follow, you know. For sure. And that's a number of, you know, and also have someone that you're accountable to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll admit, when I first saw, you know, the people that you'd selected, and I was kind of like, mate, he's gone a bit mad. Like, you know, these dogs are all super fit already. And I said, you know, the before and after photos are not going to be as dramatic as if you got, you know, a couple of fat labs or something like that. But, you know, the difference in our dogs was still phenomenal. And it blew me out of the water. You know, Kyle Staffy, who, like, the change in his body, just amazing. And same with Cardi, like, just especially with abs, and, you know, that core strength stuff was really, you know, I can see the difference in her, and I can see it in her, like in her work and stuff like that. So when, you know, even just jumping for a ball or something like that, like, I can see that strength in the core come out. She's moving so much better. She's not pulling up sore. So, you know, if it can do that for a dog like her, who was already, you know, fairly fit and active, and I was quite happy with her fitness, like, you know, the thought of, you know, some of our clients' dogs and stuff like that, like I would love to see so many dogs doing stuff like this, just to really open people's minds up about what, you know, what their dogs are capable of as well.
For sure.
And I think, you know, promoting that longevity in our dogs, you know, Dusty, who's 16, I wish that I'd been able to start it a little bit earlier. He's not able to do all of the things, but I was able to pick out bits and pieces as well to help him and his mobility, which has been really good as well.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, and just, you know, having like I said, a bit of a holistic approach, selecting certain exercises, you know, so, you know, just for people out there, my program is not a one-on-one customized program. It's a, you know, it is a, you know, there's set days, set activities, etc. However, you can customize it to suit yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was like, you gave us all those tools to be able to go, here's all the things. Now, you know, if you need to change it, do it. If you don't need to, great. Yeah.
And just even things, you know, having that balance, whether we, you know, we work on nutrition, strength, endurance, you know, balance, proprioception, flexion, you know, there's a heap of different elements to canine fitness, or, you know, canine conditioning, and incorporating them into a program for me is, you know, taking a piece of each and spending some time on that, you know, to have a, and to make up the whole piece of the pie, or the whole piece of the puzzle, you know. So that, as you mentioned, there's, you know, you spent quite a lot of time doing some drag work, and you know, sometimes we just don't quite think about the other pieces of the puzzle, you know. So for sure. So, you know, the main goal is, for the foundation program, is there to bring everything together and, you know, get people to take away what they, you know, that system, of course, but also, you know, take away what they need. You know, like with you, for instance, we don't spend too much time on nutrition. You know what I mean? You know, like, even with the lecture that guide I did for your staff, you know, if I know that you've got a nutritionist coming and to do that, there's no point me spending, you know, a good hour talking about nutrition, the foundation of the program.
Yeah. That's what was so good about it. And I think, you know, for people that, you know, I have in our dogs that come here, you know, so many of them are super fit and they go running with their owners and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, it's, those other little bits of the picture that would just, you know, really increase those dogs' ability to do more and live longer and be healthier, and you know, not end up with terrible arthritis and being unable to move and all that sort of stuff. Like, I just think the more people that get onto programs like that earlier in the dog's life, you know, the better. Like, you can keep that sort of knowledge in your head forever, and it's fantastic.
For sure. And even just going back to your socialization on the Slapmill, you know, with the puppies at your, you know, your facility, you know, that huge tick, you know, is going to make confident, happy, healthier puppies, you know, and so therefore dogs in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, that's really what we like to do in both our puppy daycare and our puppy classes, is just really give people the tools to be able to go away and understand more about, you know, confidence and resilience. And you know, if they've got those, you know, it doesn't matter if they can't sit for, you know, 20 minutes, if they can go out in the world and not be terrified of it. And, you know, and bad things can happen, and the dog's like, it doesn't matter. You know, I've had scary things before, or things that made me a little bit nervous, and I got through it. You know, and that's what I love to see. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I think adding the fitness and the nutrition in it, like, just is the icing on the cake. Like, it's
for sure.
The dogs that are coming through are just amazing.
Yeah, no, awesome. All right, that's enough talking about me and the program. But you know,
this is about me, Daniel.
That's exactly right. So just to finalise on that, though, if anyone's keen to to learn or figure out a little bit more about what I do, there'll be a link obviously to sign up for some more information coming real soon in the show notes for sure. So the other thing, hopefully, later in the year, we'll be able to get to Canberra for a face-to-face workshop in some way, shape, or form. So that'll be super excited. So I wanted to try and get Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra. I'm not sure about Melbourne at this point in time. Still working on some stuff, but the second half of this year, getting those workshops out there. So super excited about that as well.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely recommend it. Like the couple of things that I've done with you between the staff training and that, like it's all been really good stuff, and everyone's really enjoyed it. So keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So Dallas, if anyone's listening and they want to reach out, where's probably the easiest way to, either follow you on socials or, reach out to you and find out a little bit more?
Yeah, so Instagram, I'm Dallas B and Dogs. So that's my personal page where you can just, see what Cardi's up to with all the various things. Our business is Pups for Fun. So we do daycare, dog walking, dog training, and grooming here down in Canberra. And GRC Canberra is our GRC club. We are taking new members at the moment. So yeah, we train every Saturday and every second Sunday. So yeah,
Awesome.
get in touch any of those ways.
Fantastic. All right, Dallas, look, I say thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. Really appreciate, you giving us a bit of backstory and obviously the, positive feedback about my program as well. So thank you very much.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Bye.